So it is 7 o'clock. And I will be calling to order the Londonderry Utilities Committee meeting for September. Today is Tuesday, September 16th. It is 7 o'clock. We are meeting in the Moose Hill Conference Room of Town Hall. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So thank you all for attending tonight. I know Paul Ramsey is not going to make it tonight. He had a minor emergency happen up at the Palace Theater that he's dealing with tonight. I have not heard from Ann, I have not heard from Joy, and I have not heard from Jeff. But for the time being, I'm going to appoint John Mann to vote for Paul Ramsey. And when Ray comes back, Ray is in the building, we will have Ray vote for Ann until such time if Ann does show up. So we don't have a whole lot on the agenda tonight, so I think we're going to have a pretty straightforward meeting. We will start with our public comment announcement. We have nobody from the public in the audience, so we will move on from that and move right into administrative board work. John, do we have any minutes to approve?
Yeah, actually got them done early.
That's why I didn't remember. So, minutes of our August meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve the
I'd
minutes.
make a motion to accept the August minutes.
Second.
Motion by Martha Smith, second by Mike Speltz. All in favor, or any discussion, I should say first? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And it's unanimously approved. John, thank you as always for doing the minutes. It's a
No
thankless
problem. There
job.
was one edit, and then I corrected that, and we're all set.
It's a thankless job, so thank you for doing that.
No, you thank me, it's not a thankless job.
Good man.
Mine are shall and no, not. Moving on, discussions with staff. Kirsten, how are you tonight?
I am doing well. I got quite a little bit of a list for you here tonight. First off, in front of you is a copy of your committee charge. As Ron pointed out, there is something here that is inaccurate in your final charge. This is from the agenda packet where the committee was approved. It was the easiest one for me to access. It does say 5 regular members and 2 alternates. That was what existed going into that meeting. Then it was amended at that meeting, but I couldn't find a Word copy of the amended one in the 10 minutes before this meeting. So I'm just distributing this for everybody to take a look at, see if it accurately reflects what you've been doing. One of the things we're working on is doing a recodification of the municipal code, and that includes changing the taxonomy. And so one of the things we're looking at is making sure that everybody's committee charge is accurate and updated. This charge was created at your inception 3 years ago. And so if we can talk about it perhaps at the October meeting to see if there's any feedback that you have on it, that would be great. See if there's anything that you think needs to change. It would have to go to council to be changed, but just letting you know to take a look at it. The other reason I'm bringing it up right now is I want to remind everybody that everybody's term expires in December. When everybody was appointed to this board, you were all appointed for 3-year terms. And so what I'll be doing is within the next week, I'll be sending out an email. You're going to get a Microsoft form in the email asking if you would like to continue in your current capacity. So if you're a full member, if you want to continue as a full member. If you're an alternate, if you'd like to continue as an alternate. It's a much shorter form than the regular talent bank forms. These are just reappointment, showing your interest in reappointment. Ultimately, it's the council who decides who's on boards and commissions, but this is how I gather your interest. If you are an alternate who wishes to move to a full member, please you would actually fill out a full talent bank form. Okay, because you're changing your appointment. You're not just being reappointed to the same position.
Yep.
So that is the, that's what I have for that. Lynn, you look like you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna question for Ron, maybe, is the plan to interview everybody again, or? I know it's, the policy's changed over the years from interviewing, reappointments to just reappointing people.
So typically when we reappoint people, it's, we already know you. If you want to stay on, we keep you on board.
Okay,
So there'll be no need to re-interview.
yep. I
Any
guess
new applicants would have to, interview.
Yep, I guess you'd have a busy December
Yeah,
otherwise.
yeah. So,
Yeah,
Okay, good.
Yeah.
unless there's a particular circumstance where the council asks.
Yep,
We
yeah.
always ask that you be willing to interview in either
Yep.
the last meeting in November or the first meeting in December, but
And
highly unlikely.
I'll speak as liaison. I think everyone on this committee does a fabulous job, so I will certainly recommend everybody on this committee if they wish to stay on. So, I think we do
I
a good
noticed-
job, so.
I
I
know
would
we have
agree.
an addition, a member of the school board. We have an addition, a member of the school board who will serve as a liaison.
No, look at that.
We've always had that, just they never,
This never got filled.
they never come. Well, they,
Oh, see, and
I guess I never noticed it.
that is
Yeah.
the exact thing that we'd like to talk about to see if we want to bring it to council to see if the council wants to amend it. But it's just, this is something that we're working through. We're working through all of the things that should be in our code, and so I figured I'd bring this up in front of you guys.
when we
No
first did
objection.
this, we
I
wanted
have
to
no
include the
objection either.
school.
I think it's a good idea.
When we first did this, we wanted to include the school. So it was like we wanted to try to bring them in if we wanted to do something like at Auburn Road. Like that's what we were first, back when we were first on the original committee.
Yes.
So we wanted to bring the school in, but the schools never come to a meeting, but that doesn't mean that they can't.
Yep.
So,
Cool. So that's one thing that we need to think about. Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you, guys.
And we do have 3 alternates.
Yes, and that is that was upgraded at that meeting.
Yep, no,
So,
it
yeah.
says 2 on the sheet, that's why. I
Yeah.
pointed
Yeah,
that out.
it says 5
said
and
that.
2. It was upgraded to 7 and 3 at that meeting, so.
So how do you want us to go forward, giving you feedback, comments? Email you directly,
You can
copy
email me individually and just CC Lynn, just Lynn, please. Or you can bring it to the meeting to discuss next time if you want to put it on the agenda. That's up to you.
Okay, it'd be nice to have the feedback, if there
Yeah.
is any feedback ahead of time, just so we can,
Absolutely. And if you do get it to
More
me ahead of
intelligently.
time, I'll distribute it.
okay, great.
So, all right, awesome. So that is one of my things. The next thing is that I wanted to spend a minute talking about the strategic plan that you might have heard our town manager speaking about that he's putting together. As opposed to the master plan, which is long-term visionary and done in broad strokes, a strategic plan is shorter-term, action-oriented. So it is what do we intend to do in a year with a look ahead to what we hope to do in the 2 years after that. So Town Manager Mulholland is working on putting together a strategic plan with the blessing of the council for fiscal year 27. He would very much like the input of all the town departments, all the town boards and commissions in determining objectives and then action items and KPIs to support those. So it's basically the objective is the big goal. And then the action items are the steps you're going to take to achieve that goal. And KPIs is how you know if you're meeting that goal, the measurements, right? So there's a couple options. Boards can talk amongst themselves and kind of come up with it. Boards can decide they don't really want to participate in this process. Or boards can have Sean and I facilitate a workshop with you to help contribute to the strategic plan. So that is my offer to you to see if you would like Sean to come to your next meeting and facilitate a workshop to talk about what you think should be in that fiscal year 27 strategic plan.
So we serve as an advisory committee, and we serve, at the will of the council. I would like to, at some point in time, before we formalize our response, understand what the council's looking for from us as well. And I think that's real important for the next year, next 2 years, so as we go forward.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Can we
great.
do that?
So would you like to do that in
If we can do it in October, I think it makes sense to do it in October.
Okay, that would be the October 7th meeting.
Yep.
Yep. So I'll put it on Sean's calendar then. And this is again, so what's going to happen is then Sean's going to take all the input that everybody provides, departments, public, boards, commissions, and bring it together into kind of these functional areas, right? So if you go and look at Lebanon's, you'll see kind of what it means. Our functional areas won't be the same as Lebanon's. They'll be grouped differently. But, you know, high-performing government will likely be a functional area. But for ours, there may be a whole functional area about one utility, or there could be, utilities could be put in with another one. It all depends on the overarching total amount of feedback we get and what it relates to. You know, I'm sure for us, digital transformation is going to be one of our functional areas. I find that extraordinarily likely. So Sean and I are running these workshops with different departments, and so we're looking to do it with boards as well.
So I think in anticipation of that meeting, you know, we should all be thinking about what our goals are, you know, for, you know, say the next 3 to 5 years, really, right?
Really, so the strategic plan is really a 1 year. Like, what do we want to accomplish in fiscal year 27? So that year is actually from July 1st, and I have a letter that I'll send out to you that
Okay.
that's going to each board as we put them on the schedule. It is, what do you think the objectives that need to be accomplished from July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027?
Okay.
That's fiscal year 27. That's what the plan's for. Sean will then present the plan to the council in the spring. And then that plan, basically, the strategic plan kind of guides the decision-making from there. And so it will be updated every year. That's the idea.
Yeah, to a certain degree, just, you know, the way I approach it a little bit differently than that is I look 3 to 5 years down the road, then I
Yeah.
say, what do I need to do next year to accomplish my goal 3 to 5 years down the road? So,
And absolutely, when you're dealing with utilities, those are much larger projects. So it might be like, all right, what's our larger goal? You might have to conceive those larger goals first and then break it down into
Yep.
like what works for that strategic plan.
Yep.
Absolutely, yeah.
like next year, we're not going to build out a water line through the whole town.
Nope, nope,
But we
that's not a
might-
thing.
we
But
might do 2 miles, you know, I mean, it's that type of thing, but our goal is to do that, right? So.
Mm-hmm. And that's actually like, you know what, that one right there, build 2 miles of water main, 2 new miles of water main, that's actually a really clear objective, right? So that would be a really good example, and then we'd come up with the action items and the KPIs to support.
So we'll start brainstorming then at the next meeting. We don't have any homework to do prior to that meeting. That we have to give to you or to send.
No, not at
in.
all. We'll brainstorm, and then it's going to be, it's the first conversation, not the last.
Okay, good, good.
So I want to make sure that was on your radar.
So if I understand right, the workshop we're going to have in October will basically include Lynn's request to get, maybe begin with some feedback from the council on what they're looking for.
Yeah. And I believe we have a plan to speak about that before then.
Yep.
Yep. We have a plan on the books, so, yep, that will. And that all ties into that committee charge as
Yes.
well. So this is all kind of tied in together.
Yep.
All right.
Please let us know what it is.
One last housekeeping thing. We've had requests from several residents for every single board to please just make sure when you're speaking into the microphone. People do watch the meetings, and it can be challenging to hear if you're sitting way back in your chair. So feel free to do that. Just move forward when you speak. All right. So I just wanted to give a couple updates on a couple of the projects. The town submitted their official comment on the Tinkham proposed plan. And Cheryl actually called to follow up and clarify something on it, so she's definitely reading every single comment. And so they are in the process of finalizing that. The original end date that she needed to have the plan done by was the end of September, but because the public comment period was extended by 2 weeks, I believe that deadline is extended by 2 weeks as well. So my belief is that we'll see something from that in October, mid-October. The High Range Road project's going really well. Spoke with Casey and Aaron about it last week. They're still moving along really quickly. They're still looking at having the construction up to Royal done this construction season. So, yep,
Excellent, excellent.
How far did you say?
Up to Royal. They're looking this whole phase of the project done this construction season. They are hitting one of the trickiest portions, so you'll see them slow down a little bit. They're at Carousel right now. Pillsbury, that corner of Pillsbury and High Range, is a very tricky intersection because of the amount of ledge, the amount of traffic, the ages of the houses, and the proximity of stone walls to the road. So there's a lot of factors in there that make that particular stretch more challenging, but they are well prepared and well researched on it. So, yeah. John, did you have something?
Yeah, have you had any feedback, Kirsten, on willingness of folks that live there to tie in?
So that is a great question. And actually, last meeting, you guys asked me to find out how many people had signed up to tie in yet. And the answer is 0, because until the line is functional, Penachuk can't sign them up. So they've had informal conversations with people along the route, but they don't have a formal list of who is signing up yet. They can't do that till the line is actually serviceable. So until there's actually water running through that line for them to attach to, that's when they'll know who's going to connect to it or not. They're getting a lot of inquiries as they move along, quite a bit. And the trick is always, you don't get as much interest until you're actually out there digging in the ground. And once you're out there digging in the ground, people have been coming up and speaking to them about it. Yeah, Martha.
So my question is, to follow up to that, so when they're putting down this water line, are they putting like a stub in to
Curb
each?
stops, yes.
Curb stops to
Yes.
every? Excellent.
Yep. So there will be the opportunity for everybody to tie in.
Okay.
That is there. We're working on kind of looking at a town level, we're looking at the addresses on High Range Road to kind of determine which addresses fall within which part of the consent decree and what's been done for which address. And we're working on kind of creating some communication workflows to the people who are on the east side versus the west side. So that's something that we're working on right now as we get closer and closer to the date where there actually might be able to be water in that line. I will say the Verdantis project on Old Nashua Road is going a little bit slower. There's an incredibly tricky section. They're actually moving along pretty well during the road. There's an incredibly tricky section of that where the gas line goes by, where the ledge is right there. So that project is taking a little bit longer, but there's a number of different ways in which the High Range Road project can move forward without that.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw it or not, but the DPW put out a Facebook posting today talking about the water main project, and I thought it was well-written. And
Yep.
No,
Dave is
yeah,
great with that, and honestly, Dave taking the lead on that makes the most sense because when people think roads, they think DPW. So, yeah, he's been great about wanting to support that.
so I thought it was well done.
Yep. And we are avidly working at a staff level, trying to develop those 10 projects that Sean has talked about. Trying to sift through all the information we have that Jeff provided at the last meeting, or Jeff summarized at the last council, or 2 council meetings ago. The Weston and Sampson information, the Penachuk information, our understanding of what's going on.
They have the full reports, though.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. But working on using all that information, trying to come up with the 10 projects that we want to put on the shelf in order for next year's grant application cycles. So we're working on a staff level on that, working with Penachuk on that, going back and forth. It's still in the brainstorming stage. There's no set list. There's no set order of any projects that to be proposed to the council yet. We're not there yet. But there's a lot of, all right, we've got these ideas, let's move forward, let's research them, let's see which ones are gonna end up where. We have a lot of questions that people are answering and then come back together again.
Would you like to have 1 or 2 at the most, water committee people help with that or sit in on meetings? Maximum of 2 to avoid
Yeah,
it.
I can take that to Sean and, there's not going to be that many more in-person meetings. So we had a meeting to introduce Casey and Aaron to Sean because, and we ended up talking about it there. We introduced Casey and Aaron to Sean and Dave Wally to Aaron and Casey because they never met
Sure.
him. And so we talked about it there. I don't anticipate there being a lot more like meetings in there.
Yeah, just let us know. We serve at the
Yeah.
pleasure of town leadership, so.
Right now, we're really looking at, it's really high-level engineering stuff right now.
Understood.
And that's what they're asking. So they're looking at like water flows from different points. If if certain parts of the system could support certain water flows based on the pump stations they have now and the movement and the pipe size. So that's what they're looking at. It's more the hydrology side right now.
Perfect.
And once we have those answers, we'll be able to kind of come up with that list.
Perfect.
But yeah, there's no set list yet, but the research is being done right now.
Excellent.
Yep.
And that research you would share with us.
When we have there's a list done, yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
When you say the list, that means the 10 projects or?
The 10 suggested projects, yeah, or if it ends up being slightly more, slightly less, yeah. Right now, again, this is just when we have that information, the suggestions, then we will absolutely come to you guys for feedback, 100%. But we're using the criteria that you developed right now, and we're doing the research right now. And that's just, again, it's when I say we, I mean John and the engineers. They're doing their work right now to determine pricing, capacity. Penachuk's looking at their end, what the water system will support. John's looking at our end. And then there's the, research into the financial stuff. So that's what's going on right now. So it's all very, very technical. There's no answers or like policy decisions being made right now. It's just gathering information. So, yeah, that's where we're at.
Kirsten, when they get to Royal Lane, hopefully before frost, is that a full stop then? In other words, the next thing that happens after we declare victory on High Range at Royal Lane, the next thing that happens is whatever ends up becoming number one on the list, or gets funded. I mean, obviously, they could get shuffled, as we talked about, based on what funding we get. But in other words, there's a bucket of money that we're spending and putting pipe in the ground. When we hit, is the idea to hit Royal Lane about the time the bucket is empty?
No, not at all. There's still money in that bucket. That is the next step, is still contingent on determining what's happening in the consent decree area. So that's going to determine exactly what happens next. So there's still a lot of factors that are up in the air, but the resolution of the situation with Saint-Gobain is going to determine the next decision. And their lawyers are avidly working on it in conjunction with the Attorney General is working on it. Regular communication, again. They're going back and forth. I said all the words.
Yeah, you said all the right.
I said all the words. So
Thank you.
I hope to have a resolution soon.
I think we're hoping to at least have a solid update in November. So we'll be able to give you some more information, hopefully then. But it's in the AG's hands with our lawyers right beside them.
Thank you.
So that's what I got. Like I said, I had a lot today, so.
And kind of tying in with some topics from earlier meetings, just to reiterate to everybody with email. No reply all. We had a couple of reply all emails go out last week or early this week, and I'm bad, so I was one of the culprits, and I'll raise my hand and go to the woodshed for that. But just keep it in mind. Yeah, we don't want to do that on any committee emails. No reply alls. Just send everything to me, and it'll go to the right place. So. Always good to remember that. Always good to get caught, because then you remember that it really is important that we do follow the rules, so. And, anything else?
Not that I can think of. I feel like I'm forgetting one thing, but if I remember later, I'll let you know.
Moving on next, master plan update status.
Okay. Let me just check my notes here. So the master plan, which was going to be later this week, has been postponed until October 16th. And the reason for that is that we are working with Sylvia, who is from Southern New Hampshire Planning, to get us a very definitive outline of exactly what chapters we have, what's coming up, what's the plan, to get us more sort of on a straight and narrow path to completion. The the second survey, I'm sorry. The second survey has been completed, and we've done a lot of trying to disseminate it to the population. And so far, the last I heard, which was early September, we had 553 responses to that. So that's pretty good. And we're hoping that maybe we get a little more. The actual survey closing date is tomorrow. I thought it was going to be extended a little bit, but evidently not. It's going to end on September 17th, and we're going to go with the information that we got. Sylvia did indicate that in the responses that we received of the 553, up to the point that she got to that number, 30 of them had been local Londonderry businesses. So that's interesting. And so we'll look forward to continuing with the next few chapters, and also have a better idea of exactly where we're heading.
How does the 553 compare to the previous survey?
Good question.
I think that the first one we may have, do you remember?
I'm gonna say roughly 1,500, maybe plus or minus 200.
Of responses?
We had over 1,000 responses. I
Yeah.
thought it was like 1,300.
Okay, well, that's another reason why maybe it should be extended, but we spoke about that at the last master plan meeting, but as far as I know from Jeff just tonight, he said, no.
Yeah, well, I also think that 500 is a pretty good response for a follow-up survey. I think at some point in time, people get tired of taking surveys, and they expect to see the results come back from them as opposed to doing
True.
more questions, so.
I would just say to anybody on this committee who hasn't already answered it, tonight when you go home, answer it.
Everybody on this committee has answered it, haven't they?
You can do it multiple times. You don't have to put your name down.
Well, that's cheating, right?
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Martha? Okay, great. Thank you, Martha.
You're welcome.
Moving on to the subcommittee discussions. So, first one we'll talk about is energy. So, the biggest thing I think for the energy subcommittee at our last meeting, we as a utilities committee voted to recommend to the town manager to sign off on the consulting contract with Freedom Energy Logistics. Subsequent to that, we had a meeting with the town manager and with the CEO of Freedom, and the contract was renewed for another 5 years. So I think that was positive overall for the town, and I think it was just another example of the value that we bring as a committee to advising the town manager and the town council as well. So that's,
And I should know this, when is the next 6-month interval with our friends? When we'll look at this, whether or not we should launch?
February.
February.
Yeah. And it's a long way away. It's right around the corner as well. And I think as of a few weeks ago, there is not a lot of optimism that we'll be in a position to move forward with the contract. So, but that's, like I said, it's a long way away. But that's the next window of opportunity will be in February. I don't have anything else. Mike, what are we working on? What did we say? I hate to say, what did we do in the last 4 weeks, but what did we do in the last 4 weeks?
Yeah, we are trying to come up with a way still for the town to create some kind of solar array. It's not to the point where we can make any public disclosures, but rest assured that the effort is continuing. And I can offer 2 news items tonight. One is we have a new Public Utility Commission's commissioner.
Ooh.
The incumbent was not, the governor chose not to renew him, and she has appointed somebody else and expressed the hope that it will result in, I'm not going to quote her exactly, but lower rates of electricity for New Hampshire citizens, and I think more, I think she used the word transparency and what happens at the PUC. So, don't know what that means, but that's out there. The second thing is, I got the official notice from New Hampshire Department of Energy that is the allocation for the Renewable Energy Fund when utilities, they basically buy the right to pollute, with carbon, and they pay for that right. And that money goes into the Renewable Energy Fund, and that fund has been a hockey puck that's been kicked around a lot over the last few years. But the bottom line is, in the budget that was passed at the end of the last session, there is no money for, no allocation for municipalities. So if we don't need to look for help in building the solar array that we're looking for from the Renewable Energy Fund. There is some for residential, there is some for commercial, industrial, depending on the technologies, et cetera, but not for municipalities. So, those, good news, bad news, I guess, is my report today. The other thing that I've come to realize is that I think that we on the electrical subcommittee need some engineering expertise. I know we've got a lot of expertise that you can use to support the water committee. We've got, Dave Willey knows what he's doing around a shovel, and certainly John Trotter does when it's stormwater. But I don't know that there's a lot of expertise, correct me if I'm wrong, Kirsten, about substations and what it takes to make them go, and what goes in and what comes out, and that sort of thing.
I know that Director Wally and Director Trotter do have some grounding in that. We do have a new Deputy Director of Public Works starting, who is an engineer. He was the capital projects engineer for the town of Salem. Prior to this, he's starting in November. He may bring some experience to that from the capital side, so I am not sure. It's certainly something I can ask Dave about and see if he knows, because he did the interviews.
What I was almost thinking is, just as we had Penachuk in here to kind of give us a long-range view of what their plans are, I wonder if we could get Eversource to come in and do the same thing. I've known for a while that there's a 3-phase line that's going to go in down High Range Road. I don't know where it starts. I don't know where it ends. I don't know when it's going to be built. That kind of information, it seems, might be useful for us. So, and I know that the town has a designated Eversource liaison, and he's appeared before the Conservation Commission before, and he seems always fairly eager to help. So I'm wondering if we could approach him about, having a visit at the utility committee and
Absolutely.
give
So
us an update.
you might have been referring to Mr. Stokes. He has since moved on to a different opportunity. Our current contact, her first name's Maitreyi. I apologize, I don't remember her last name, but I can certainly reach out to her and see her availability and Eversource's availability for your upcoming meetings, if that is what this committee would like.
I think asking the question would be great.
Okay.
Yeah. We've actually had people coming in from Eversource to explain about what they're doing with, the High Line and so forth. Pardon?
Replacing towers, mostly.
Yeah. So, certainly, one of their engineers probably would be perfectly willing to come in.
I'd like to hope so.
Right.
Can it,
In a perfect world, remember the beautiful map that Jeff showed us, with color-coded the various needs in the water distribution system. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a similar thing from Eversource? I'm not asking for that, but that's the flavor of what I'm trying to get at.
Sure.
Yeah, and there is certainly a lot of three-phase power in the town of Londonderry,
Right.
even on some of the secondary roads. And yes, it would be nice to know where that is and what the availability is and, you know, where the substations are, or transformers, et cetera.
They have to have those maps.
Can I say something? In regards to energy, once again, I'm not an energy expert, but we know that Derry put in their solar farm. And it would be nice if maybe somebody could talk to them and see how that's going, where that power is going, whether they're going to be using it.
Is it installed?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, last
Yeah.
I had heard, it hadn't been
Yeah,
installed
well,
yet.
it's on the landfill,
Yeah,
you know, off, basically, well,
Oh.
off South Road or.
I don't know if it's running the buildings yet.
yeah, last
Well,
I
that's,
heard-
you know,
last I
how
heard
many
it
of the
wasn't.
municipal buildings, the schools and so forth, how that's working out from. The other thing, I happened to be over in Nashua, and I spoke to somebody over there, and Pennachuck has put in a solar farm on their facility, which is pretty interesting. I don't know exactly where it's at, whether it's close to their water treatment plant or probably on some of their property. But interesting as to a great idea to supplement their energy costs. So it'd be nice to maybe know a little bit more about that too. What we can learn from others.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And talking a little bit more about solar, so we had a conversation, it's been, Bob Slater and I have talked on and off for a couple of years now about doing something over at the school system, and I had a chat with him a few weeks ago, and right now they're looking at the full-time kindergarten, some other capital projects, the new school, SAU office, and he says when that's done, then he'll want to start talking about solar, but right now, that's the focus of his resources, is looking at the new SAU building and where that goes.
Can I say something further in that regard?
I expect you to.
My wife she chose to go to her high school reunion, which was at a restaurant in Walpole, Mass. I drove her down. I did not go. And she said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Don't worry about it. I'll find something to do." Okay. I happened to be going by the local school, the high school. And I'm looking, as I'm driving by, at their parking lot. And they've got, sort of look like carports, but I mean, in other words, the whole parking lot is covered with solar
They're hoping
panels.
to do.
Great idea.
Yeah.
Great idea. And I think others should think about that. We took a tour of the Coca-Cola plant, and one of their engineers thought that was a great idea, and he was trying to push that forward, but was getting pushback. But, you know, what a great idea. You know, you put it over a parking lot. It actually protects the parking lot to a degree.
Protects
When
the
it-
cars, for sure.
Well, you know, if it happens to be in the wintertime, it keeps the snow off the cars for the most part. It's going to land on the solar panels anyway, unfortunately. Maybe when the sun comes out, it'll melt.
Yeah. It's the whole idea.
You know, and in the summertime, if it's at a school, maybe a lot of people aren't going to be there. But but nevertheless, you know, if it happens to be in the summertime, rather than your car being baked out in the sun, it's in some kind of a shade.
Yeah, it's a good idea. We
so-
have discussed it here.
Yeah, so, you know, I just think in our discussion, we should continue to suggest that maybe to the schools. That's up to them to decide.
Yeah.
Oh, they're the ones who were
Yeah.
asking us for input,
Yeah, well,
so we'll continue.
how about
on.
we suggest it's a good idea?
We should agree.
Yeah, how it's gonna be financed, that's a whole nother story.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'm wondering, when we insert into the school's planning process for their new building, the idea of, that they don't neglect looking at the roof. could ask the liaison, but he's not here tonight. But somehow I hope that we could, maybe when you have a conversation with,
Well, there's also, isn't there a joint building committee put together between the town and the school?
There's the school district office working group.
Yeah,
that's right.
They have, their meetings are generally in the mornings.
Mhm.
Their next one is Thursday.
This Thursday?
Yeah, that's their next one. It's posted outside. I don't remember the time off the top of my head.
I think it's like 8 o'clock.
I think they're 8 o'clock, yeah, upstairs in the Merrill Conference Room.
do they have a, is it open to the public?
It is open to the public, yeah.
They have a chairman, do they have a org structure posted anywhere?
It is on the website, actually, hold on. Hey, look, it's almost like I keep that updated sometimes.
They're all ex officio, if I remember right.
No, is what I'm thinking is just send them an email
Yeah.
from us as a committee saying, we urge you to take into consideration,
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
you know.
So this is their agenda for Thursday. Dan Black is the chair,
When time's the meeting?
8 a.m.
Oh, jeez.
And let's see, sorry, I forget. So again, if you want to call and deliver them to any, get them any information or questions, that's Tanya's extension, the executive assistant. She does staff that. Excuse me. Dan Black is the chair. And then this is the membership. It does include Justin and Sean and Dave Wally and Ted Combs. So that's the membership.
So I'm gonna ask for permission instead of asking for forgiveness, so if the Utilities Committee is okay, I'm gonna take the action to send an email off to the working group to say, you know, please take into consideration, I'll word it nicely, but please take into consideration engineering the roof of the new building to accommodate solar as the building is built or future applications for solar.
And maybe even go for broke and suggest they look at high-efficient mechanical systems.
Yeah,
Can I make a suggestion?
Which I think is interesting, that mail we got about Kearsarge's is solar array system and joining that. I'm not saying we join that, but it just makes me think about, gee, it looks like it could be very beneficial, we just did our own, like you guys are suggesting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I don't know if by law we have to share that with anybody, or put it to the grid. We probably might want to, or just use it for the school or whatever, but again, it just, the point here proves that it's financially feasible, so.
And by the way, in regards to the school, they're talking about redoing a lot of their buildings, including the high school, and also the South School. So potentially building new buildings, should they consider putting solar on it? Absolutely.
absolutely, yeah.
Lynn, when you write that letter, maybe spend a few minutes to do some research to get some measure to show for every square yard or square meter of solar panels, you can generate X amount of revenue per year or something, some sort of measure to sort of wet their beak just a tiny little bit. So instead it's just like, hey, you should look at solar.
Yep,
Right.
It's, hey, you should look at solar because you can generate $100 per year for every square yard of solar panels on the roof of the building.
Sure.
And if the building is X number of square meters, that's whatever the math is.
Yep.
You know,
that's a good
you
idea.
know, it's 10 or 15 minutes of research.
Yep, yep. Good idea. And any other questions, comments regarding energy? Moving on to water.
Water was late today. I apologize to everybody. We had a nice presentation to the town council meeting 2 council meetings ago. I thought it went really well. I apologize. I guess I didn't apologize, but Ron, I'm sorry I turned my back on you when I was giving the presentation. I was trying to talk to the audience, which I was coached that was not correct. And it won't happen again. But I'm really pleased to see the town leadership sort of taking up the flag of building out the planning for the 10 projects. You know, I think we've, you know, if we've done our part to sort of kickstart the project and and provide options and opportunities. I think we've done a really good job as a advisory voluntary committee. The town has great people on staff and they are full-time employees, and I think that's a good outcome. You know, I want to make sure that we're engaged in supporting that as much as possible and adding value. Had some language come across while I was away from the the town manager on the how the consent decree negotiations or the negotiations with certain parties was being managed. It was interesting language. I responded a little bit, but I was sort of out of pocket. We'll discuss it more at the next Water Utility Committee meeting. I have a lawyer on staff that's going to brief us all on what it means. So we have our next meeting. Well, am I wrong?
Oh, you're right. You have Martha.
You're paying for the lawyer?
Well,
Pro bono.
Ron, can I get a
Pro
budget for
bono.
that?
And donuts.
Lawyers are very expensive.
They are.
Martha may volunteer, I don't know.
We have our next meeting on the 20th, which is Saturday. And we're going to be covering that letter and ways that we can continue adding value for the town. If Kirsten shows up, we'll probably have a little bit more detailed discussion on if we, how we can help and what the town can use us for. And I'm sure, I will be sending Kirsten an email between now and then to sort of have a bit of that conversation. I want to make sure that we're adding as much value as conceivably possible. And that's it for now. Anything else from the team? Last, I believe, John, correct me if I'm wrong, we continue to ask for the Pennachuck active projects list, and we continue to not receive what we've been asking for. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, Lynn, you can take it from there.
Yeah, so I'm,
Okay.
I'm gonna carry that conversation
Okay,
forward,
great.
see what we can find out what's going on.
Okay, perfect.
Yep, John and I talked briefly before.
All right, so we're gonna push on that a little harder.
Yep.
And I think that's all we have for water for now. I'm very pleased that the High Range Road pipeline is moving forward.
Yep.
And I like Kirsten's goal of 2 miles of pipeline in the next year. I want it to be more than that.
I think she
'cause
said-
I'm-
That was like a completely arbitrary number,
Yeah.
by the
Yeah,
way.
I
That
thought
was
it was
just an
arbitrary.
example of specific, measurable,
Months.
What I heard is
actionable, reasonable time.
You're on tape.
what I heard is Kirsten,
I know.
what I heard is Kirsten guarantees.
Hey.
Sorry.
My bank account doesn't appreciate that.
Sorry. Yeah, so I'm glad we're getting progress with the current pipeline going in, and I'm very, very pleased that we're getting some structure around the 10 projects that will hopefully be, 3 out every year and 3 in every year until it's done.
Yep.
So,
Great.
and for the record, next water meeting is 10 o'clock on the 20th, which is Saturday. It's not the second week because we had some shenanigans with scheduling this year. Or this month, sorry. That's all. Any questions? Okay.
That's good.
Okay, moving on, sewer and solid waste. John, anything happening sewer and solid waste?
I'm going to be extremely brief, which is very unusual for me. Sewer and Solid Waste was present at Old Home Days. We were actually adjacent to the Beautify Londonderry table. We had our own table. We featured discussions on composting. And we had renewal composting in to talk about using a service, and we also had some discussion points on do-it-yourself composting as an alternate. I think there was some interest there. I reached out to the owner of Renewal today, but we weren't able to hook up to see if he could give me some solid numbers. Did he pick up any customers from the thing? And if not, I'm probably out of guilt going to subscribe. It was actually thank you, Kirsten, a good to be matched up next to Beautify Londonderry, because I got to drift between the 2 booths a little bit. And Beautify Londonderry spent a lot of time talking to folks about what to recycle and what not to recycle, and I think we had some fun doing it, and I think it was somewhat educational, and it was interesting to sort of talk to kids about, you know, which of these things don't get recycled, and they would sort of know sometimes, and then we'd give them a sticker or something, but it was interesting also watching the parents looking over their shoulder, both to see if the kid could get the answer right, because all parents want their kids to get the answer right, but also to see if they knew the answer themselves. And there were some times when they were a little shaky. Okay, so that, it was good from that perspective. So I think overall assessment, I think it was good exposure for a first kind of put ourselves out there a little bit on a couple of different issues. And I want to particularly thank Ray and Martha and Joy, who's not here tonight, for sitting out there for many hours talking to folks. And based on the fact that we spent all that time together, we decided not to meet for the rest of the month. So our next meeting is, I believe it's the 27th of the month. And we'll see what we have on the plate for that.
Great, thank you. Any questions?
I got a question. Have you thought about having a recycling education day at the schools? You know, catch them young and maybe have like a day with the kindergartners and then a day with the first graders and then a second graders, so these kids will get at least one day. And if you're already doing this, I apologize. But they have at least one day every year at every grade. It's like, this is what goes on with recycling. And then there's a program, and it's, you know, why it's important to recycle your aluminum cans, because 85% of, I mean, I'm making a number up, but 85% of aluminum cans have been aluminum cans before. And, you know, you can take the plastic from a soda bottle and turn it into a pen. And, you know, some recycling you can turn into sweaters and all the stuff. Is that something that, I mean, that would require resources and it would require a curriculum, but it would, you know, if you catch them young and sort of educate them as they come up, it might put a little bit more, it might make the seal easier when they're 20 if they've been sold every year for 12 years.
Ray put his fingers up because he talks about this at every meeting.
We talked about this with Joy because she is a school teacher. Okay, and we suggested, or maybe I suggested, that maybe she would be a good person to speak to someone at the school. Obviously, the school would have to decide whether they want to do anything in that regard or not, but I think it's a great idea. And I don't know if Joy's had an opportunity to do that or not, but we have discussed it.
Yeah, there have been a couple of things we've talked about, and it's on Joy's plate right now, to get in front of the Green Council, I believe they call it at the high school. And I kind of like that idea. I'm not so sure, beyond Joy, if we should be the sole leads on that, or if we can get some folks from the Green Council kids, teaching kids, might be a better idea.
Yeah.
But it's there. We just have to make the hookup. I know that Joy had an initial conversation with the teacher who's the
Faculty advisor?
yeah, the mentor, whatever they call that person, and there was some level of excitement. So we just had to wait for school to start, because that's when they put these societies back together. So I would expect we'd hear a little bit from Joy at our next meeting in terms of what she's been able to do. I like the idea of what you're describing. I'm not sure we would get a whole day, but we might be able to plug into a curriculum and.
Yeah, I mean, even if we get like an hour, I mean, it's just that it's the repetitive of the repetition of the touch. You know, if they hear it once, and it goes through their heads, but if they hear it every year, it's like, oh, it's recycling day.
And we like the idea of the kids bringing home the idea to the parents.
Absolutely.
And so the kids can educate the parents.
Yep.
2 years ago, I spoke to it was the Green Council at the high school for an hour. I was really there recruiting, trying to get somebody to come over to beautify Londonderry. And can be a tough group up front, okay? Getting to little kids is easier, and that particular group was somewhat environmentally oriented, so you think that they would be naturals, but that was tough. It gave me a new appreciation of why I'm not a school teacher. So I like the idea of aiming a little younger.
Sure.
And so we'll talk about that.
Sure, well, yeah, and as it develops, I mean, the recycling business that you mentioned, they could be a contributor. We could probably get Republic to come in. It's Republic, right? That does the-
Renewal.
Is it Waste Management?
Waste management.
Sorry, Waste Management to come in and have like their recycling guy. This is how recycling works. And maybe, you know, by the time they're like freshmen or sophomores in high school, have them do a tour, if they want, to one of the recycling. I mean, there's an opportunity to really make some change, some
Yeah,
powerful
maybe
change.
they will choose to have a career in recycling. You know?
That would be cool.
It's important.
I also provided Renewal last time I spoke with them with contact names on the school side.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's a natural, and that might give them, you know, the struggle on that kind of a business is getting enough business to justify doing some of the things you need to promote the business. So that, one of those, like the high school, for example, would be, I think, a great opportunity.
Sure.
But that's what I've got.
Okay, thank you. John, any news on cable internet?
No, I think the next guy who picks up the responsibility can go over the contract starting in November, whoever that person is.
Point noted. Okay, moving on, roundtable discussion. We'll start over on this side of the bench tonight. Ron?
Sure. I would just like to thank the utility subcommittee, the water part, for the presentation they made to the town council. It was received very well. And basically the legwork that you guys did is now going to be formed into either 10 or 12 phases, and it will allow us to apply for grants.
Perfect.
So all the work you guys did is going to be basically all worth it in the end. So we're going to have 10 or 12 projects that we can line up with different grants and apply and have a shelf-ready project ready to go. So that, I just want to thank you guys for doing that legwork, and it is very much appreciated.
But as we get them, I don't mean to interrupt, but as we get them funded, say we have 12 in the kitty. If we get 5 funded, then next year we have to get 5 more to throw them into the kitty again, or is it just going to be 12 and out, or?
No, I think, I don't know, I'd be happy with one.
Exactly.
Being honest.
Ongoing.
But yeah, it's ongoing.
Okay, that's what I.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense.
But
The
the
num-
projects are going to be lined up so they can hopefully fit with certain grants.
Yep.
So,
Excellent, excellent.
I was going to say the number just has to do with what's manageable
Yes.
to develop at the same time.
Yeah.
So yes, your answer is absolutely. As they get funded, more will come in until
Yes.
there are no more projects in town.
Yeah, it's easy to advise and recommend and get the ball started, but doing the hard work is the hardest part.
And do I understand that the engineering staff is going to do this?
In terms of the engineering staff are the ones who are working on it right now, yes. I mean, it's
So they're
there.
going to choose which one they're going to move forward with?
No, it's
No.
not just the engineering staff. The engineering staff is working with Pennachuck, with the town manager, and eventually we'll go to the council because it's the policy is decided upon by the council. The information is being prepared, gathered, and recommended by engineering and the town manager. And then the council and your feedback will be sought to say, yes, this is the list, or maybe I think this is, you didn't think about this, it's more urgent, look at this. That's what's going to happen. But right now, there's a number of very technical questions that they are working on, like extraordinarily technical questions that only the engineers are qualified to answer. So they are working on those right now that have to do with, like I said, water flows, has to do with directionality, pipe sizes,
Head
topography.
pressure.
I think my question was,
Yeah.
which engineers? Is it gonna be the town engineers, or is it gonna be Pennachuck engineers? Or you can say it's gonna be both, but
So in terms of who's doing the final engineering, like the design,
No.
or
no,
who's?
who's gonna choose? We have, let's say we have 10 projects, okay? We have 10 projects potentially we can move into
Mm-hmm.
and move in this direction.
That's
We
very
have to
optimistic.
have, pardon?
I said that's very optimistic, but I'm just saying,
Well,
we're trying
no,
to
we
match
do.
them with grants, so keep that in mind.
Well,
So
So-
once the 10 projects are, so once we come up with the list of 10 projects as a town, once the town has its 10 projects, what is going to be submitted then is ultimately, once the town council gives the go-ahead, then the town manager will submit them for grants.
If I may, Ron, I'll ask you a question, this may help the answer.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for having us do the presentation, he did the lead. At the end, I kind of prodded a little bit and asked that the town council support Sean with monies to have an engineer, because, maybe not an engineer, but a person who actually does the technical drawings and the prints, because the submission is pretty heavy. So A, I wonder if that's gonna happen. And B, so the second part of that, Ray, is, once that is all done, you have all these projects with certain cost. All of a sudden, our town manager sees a $1 million grant come up at the State House through Ron. We'll pick project number 5 for a $1 million grant. It's mix and match at that time, based upon priorities, monies, but the next big step is getting the engineering work done, and then the grant person to write it. So I guess the question I have, I hope that explains it, is do we get a person, or do we already have a person? Do we need to allocate monies, or in the future?
So we're in budget season,
Yep.
just starting now.
Yep, in the
Talking about
future.
it. So now is a great time to propose that and to get it budgeted. We currently do not have a grant writer, but I believe Justin serves as our grant writer as needed. But we may want to talk about if we want to have an outside firm help us with grant writing, or if we want to have somebody ourselves. That's something great to come to council and talk about when we talk about the budget.
Okay, thank you. Ray, I hope that helped.
yeah, I also think about residents and citizens' needs. Who is the most need? We have to figure cost, we have to figure the engineering, we have to figure the grants, but we also have to figure who is most impacted.
That's the
in the
number one
criteria.
on that criteria
Yeah,
list,
the
right?
criteria.
That's the number one on the
Who's gonna
criteria list.
Decide that.
The city council or the
The
policy
council.
deciders.
So we're gonna come forward with the engineer and the town manager will come forward with what they believe meet those criteria the best, the criteria that you approved and the council approved. They will come forward with that.
And you'll have a
And then the
hearing.
council will approve.
Yep,
Yep,
yep.
or not approve, yep. Ray, are you asking me if Pennachuck is going to make the decision what project goes first? Is that what you're asking me? Kind of?
That is of concern.
No, the answer is Pennachuck is not going to decide what project goes first and who gets water first.
Right.
Okay.
Just because I felt like you were kind of asking me that.
Yeah, and that's important.
And Pennachuck knows that, and Pennachuck doesn't want to make that decision either. I want to be really clear on that. They're not saying, you should do this first. That they have not done that to us once. So they are saying, you need to make the decision. Your town makes the policy.
And
you
your
make the
town pay for
decision.
it.
Yep. Exactly. So if that was your concern, I can straight up say, no, Pennachuck is not telling us what to do next at all. Yep.
Thank you. Do we have any further on Tinkham and the EPA?
Just the update I gave at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay, so we don't know anything further as to,
They're working, so the public comment period on Tocqueville, Ross, Albany, Charleston, Albany, Boston, Charleston closed
Right.
on August 26th.
right?
Cheryl is currently working on putting together, because they have to take all of that comment, respond to it, and that goes into the final plan. So right now, it's still proposed plan until they incorporate the comments, then it becomes the final plan. The deadline for that, prior to when public comment was extended, was the end of September. My understanding is that because the public comment period was extended by 2 weeks, therefore, the time that Cheryl has to work on incorporating those is extended by 2 weeks as well, which puts us middle of October. Cheryl did call with some follow-up on our comment, our town's comment. So that's good. She's reading them, they're looking at them, they're incorporating them. And when that's done, that document will be published. That's the next step, is the publishing that document, likely mid-October.
And there's also comments from Senator Harrison, Senator Shaheen, and
Yes.
Senator Pappas.
They have to respond to all comments. That's why it takes a while.
So we don't know whether they've commented back to them.
That's all the comments, all the replies are going to be in a public document that Cheryl's working on right now. The replies to, they have to incorporate all the public comments and respond to all of them, and then make that document public in the final plan. And that's why I'm saying middle of October. They do not do it piecemeal, no.
It's like a
But
police
there
audit.
was urgency in that directive from the senators.
The senators did urge urgency, yes, did
Yes.
urge urgency, yes. But they still need to follow through with the plan on the timeline that was previously presented.
And
Is
they're
there
also
another hearing after
negotiating-
it's completed?
No.
And they're also negotiating with the responsible parties.
Once the plan is complete and agreed upon, then it goes to the DOJ to negotiate with the PRP.
Okay, so we don't know anything further.
Not until we get that next document, which, like I said, probably middle of October, like the other ones. As soon as we get it, it'll go up on our website as well as on the EPA website that we link to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jeff?
No comment.
Mike?
Just very briefly, because I hate to let a meeting go by without throwing something new on the table. But as we spoke tonight, I was looking at our committee charge and looking at all the various entities and materials that we work on. There's one that is absolutely free, the stuff is free, and yet it needs management, and that's air quality. We have an air quality monitor in town, luckily one of just a few in the state. We can influence it. Now, notice that we're in charge of fuel for town vehicles. Our school buses run on diesel. A lot of our town vehicles do. They emit carcinogens. So I don't know how, I think that these things, air quality considerations can be incorporated in the existing subcommittee structure, one way or another. But I guess I'm just wanting to urge us not to forget that as a byproduct perhaps of our other work.
Sure.
Can I say that's a great idea? And by the way, I believe we had a warrant article, we also had a, that was passed that was supposed to include air quality, but I don't believe it was ever completed. And I don't know if that was comprehensive or the other one, but there was supposed to be an air quality done also.
There, so I don't, I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
From the
A
environmental
warrant article-
baseline?
A warrant article on air quality, but I'd
Yeah.
like to, can you go take a look at that?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be great, and let us know next meeting?
sure.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm done.
Martha?
I am all set. Thank you.
John?
Yeah, I want to talk about the Stonehenge 128 Rotary. I'm sorry, wrong meeting.
Listen.
It's gonna be in October. Too busy now.
Mike, great minds think alike.
Town manager now.
I was
We're
looking
talking
at the
January.
charge too,
So,
and
We'll talk about it.
not something new, because I brought this up once before, but I do see the words home heating oil on this. And we've got a new town manager. I know our last town manager sort of put a kibosh on discussions with heating oil buying groups and that sort of thing. I'd like to kind of resurrect that and suggest that maybe under the auspices of the Energy Committee, we could represent that to the new town manager and see if there might be an interest. Too late for this season, but we're talking about projects for next year anyways.
So, I know you had put together some words that we gave to the previous town manager. You wanna dust those off
Yep.
and we'll send those on to Sean?
Would propane be included in that?
Yep. Oh,
Yes, all the buying groups I'm familiar with do both.
Yep.
Okay,
Could
good.
be both. Yep.
Thank you.
Kirsten, anything from you?
I got it all out at the beginning, so I am good.
Okay. So thank you all for your inputs. Next item is public comment. We're in the same boat we were at the start of the meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, October 7th. I had actually thought about not having an October meeting since we're meeting right now in the middle of, basically the middle of September, but I think we'll have enough agenda items to meet again in October. And we'll be expecting Sean to have the workshop in terms of putting together words for the strategic plan, so.
And Lynn, won't we have to also, the criteria for the board, we'll have to kind of like finish that up because we'll be putting forth, when Kristen gives us that form. Kristen?
Kirsten.
Kristen? I think-
Cheerston, cheerio, cheerleader,
Sorry.
all those happy,
Yes.
cheerful words
Yeah, yeah, so.
that fit my personality so well.
We're gonna be taking and doing our request for volunteerism in November.
I'm going to be sending it out within the next week. They'll be due, haven't decided whether they're going to be due November 5th or October 31st, but you have some time, some significant time.
Okay.
And I will remind, don't worry, I remind people ad nauseum because it's a yes, I'm interested or no, I'm not interested. And if you click no, you're not interested, the survey's done and you get to move on. But if you click yes, then I ask you questions. It's mostly to update your contact information. That's really all it is to make sure I have the most updated personal email and phone number and make sure your job hasn't changed to create a conflict of interest. That's all I do in
Thank
that
you.
form.
Okay, any other business we want to address before we adjourn? I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Martha, second by Jeff. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.